everybody. Welcome to the Rowe-Thrush Solution Selling Show. I'm James Thrush, and thank you for watching this episode. We're continuing our National Preparedness Month special this month. Today, we'll be interviewing Glenn Bushy with Brite-Strike Illumination. Before we bring him on, though, what is the Solution Selling Show? This is a weekly podcast that we do for the Grainger sales force, where basically every week, every Friday at 2 o'clock Central Time, we bring on a different supplier partner of ours and we interview them live on both LinkedIn and YouTube. What's great about us doing a live broadcast is if you catch us while we're live, you can type in questions that you may have for that particular supplier and interact with them, getting answers to your needs right then and there. With that all said, I want to welcome Glenn to the show. Welcome, Glenn. How are you doing today?
Great, James. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to getting into this. You guys definitely have some great products, perfect for emergency preparedness. Really looking forward to getting the messaging out and the awareness of Brite-Strike's products. Before we do that, though, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do at Brite-Strike, how long you've been there, and maybe a little bit about your history too.
Sure. My name is Glenn Bushy, and again, I'm the president, CEO, and the chief product designer. And I work on everything from the concept right through the CAD cams to getting the product from a concept to actual production. And I'm a real fanatic on emergency preparedness. As I was talking to James, it's almost religion for me because I go up to the North Maine woods, fly fishing and hunting way off grid. And over the years, I've really tweaked it. But that kind of segues into my background in corporate life. Was I worked for Coleman PowerMate, which at the time we were one of the biggest generator companies, portable generator companies, and things weren't being made in China yet. Everything was made here, and it was in Kearney, Nebraska, and we would regularly have emergency preparedness planning where we would have generators, and during major hurricanes, we would bring them from even like sites where we stored them in Alaska down to Puerto Rico or vice versa from Puerto Rico up to Canada. So I've been around for a lot of those, and we would just got very good at logistics and understanding these are big, heavy items that aren't easy. And it's interesting because one time in upstate New York, we would have them in there, and we'd actually have whoever our retail partners were, the state police, and escorted by National Guard, and all-terrain vehicles would actually bring these vehicles because trucks couldn't take them in. So it's been an interesting background. So this is, again, near and dear to my heart. And that was my corporate background. And in 16 years ago, in 2007, I guess, I started Brite-Strike just because I just really had a passion to do some things. And in corporate America, you're always restrained as to what you can do, where by starting my own business, I wasn't.
You're your own boss. So yeah, that's a great story. And as far as generators, for years, I was trying to convince my wife to invest some money into getting a generator because it seemed like the power would go out for a significant amount of time, about once or twice a year in our neighborhood. And I was like, it'd be nice to have a generator. I know they're expensive, but it'll be worth it in the long haul. And sure enough, finally, we got one a couple of years ago and didn't use it right away. But eventually that spring, sure enough, the power went out. There was a big storm, and I happily went out in the rain to my shed and pulled out my generator, fired it up, and hooked everything up. And we were able to watch Netflix, keep our food cold, have a few lights going. It was really nice. And my wife was like, oh, this was a good idea, actually. And we've used it multiple times since. So great. Now, I do have one more question for you, and it's a little bit of a personal question, but it's something that I like to ask everybody. And the question of this season is, who is your favorite band, or what is your favorite album and why?
Boy, let's see. It's funny because it depends what genre we're talking, but I would say I kind of always liked the Beatles. I was a kid when they came out, a little kid, so they were the new hot thing, and so I always had sort of a love for those guys. But it was like the Rolling Stones in that era, and that's when I first started becoming interested in music and went a bunch of directions. But if I had to drill it down, I'd say Stones or Beatles, one of the two. Hard to say.
Surprisingly, you are the first person to say the Beatles. You are episode 30 this year, so I've asked this question 29 other times, and you're the first person to say the Beatles, and I'm kind of surprised that it's taken that long. I've had multiple people say Tom Petty. I've had multiple people say Journey, but you're the first one to, and same with Rolling Stones too. Nobody's yet said Rolling Stones, so that's great. I'm not really a huge Beatles fan, which is kind of funny because the Beatles was a major influence in my favorite band. And you can actually hear the similarities in their music, even though it's completely different from their type of music, but you can hear the harmonies and whatnot. So that's awesome. Did you ever get a chance to see them play live?
No, like I was a little kid and they came on Ed Sullivan, which is all these. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. Just remember seeing it, and I don't know. I just liked it because at the time it was rock and roll was like Elvis Presley and some other stuff like that, and it was really my first exposure to any kind of music. That was just so different, and but I was by the time I was old enough to actually have money and be able to maybe go see them. They weren't around here too much or too expensive.
Okay. Okay. Well, very good. And because of that too, thank you for the music recommendation. I will be listening to some Beatles this weekend, which actually too, maybe I'll play some Beatles tomorrow at the first annual Rowe-Thrush family picnic that we're having. So looking forward to having this picnic. So I'll probably play some Beatles while we're having our barbecue and our picnic as
Don't
a
forget
company.
those Rolling Stones. They're good too.
I'll definitely throw in some Rolling Stones too. I love the Stones, so thank you for all of that.
Are you the DJ for the event, James? Or
Yes, I'm bringing a Bluetooth speaker so we can play music. So I'll have my phone hooked up to it, and I'll pull up the Apple Music Essentials playlist of the Beatles and Rolling Stones too. So very good. So with that all said, why don't you tell us who Brite-Strike is? What is it that you guys do? And then we'll get into some more stuff with the show.
right. It was I started. How it started was I went from the corporate group into doing some of the licensed products. So I got to travel internationally, and it was at the time when the world was particularly. We started as tactical flashlights, and everything was bulbs, incandescent bulbs. And then as part of Coleman Parmate, did stuff with Coleman Camping. So I was familiar with a wide range of products that particular group had. And as I started to travel, the LEDs started to be coming in, but it took a little while to develop. And I had struck up a relationship with one of the top people at Philips Lighting, who had a Belgian guy with like 6 engineering degrees. And we became friends, and I used to see him when I was traveling at the airports in Malaysia or Hong Kong and things. And I had what I didn't tell you was while I was doing my professional job, I worked initially for the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department because one of my hobbies was diving. So I started a dive search and rescue team for the Sheriff's Department. So I got to go to a special police academy and that they held on nights and weekends tailored to us. And then I later went on to work for one of the local police departments. So I've had a law enforcement background. And one of the things at that particular time, SWAT teams on the local level were pretty, the FBI had one and things like that, but it was pretty rudimentary. I got to go through the training. And again, it was very rudimentary because people were using revolvers in those days and ballistic vests were just starting to come into vogue. So some of the guys a couple of years later were going through another round, and they were spending a lot of money on tactical flashlights because they had to use it off their belt and then had to go put it on their weapon, whatever it was. And one of the guys that we talked to, who was a sniper on the SWAT team, said, geez, he goes, you've got a lot of patents. You're always developing product, which I was for unrelated to that. And he said, you like this stuff. Why don't you see if you can come up with something better? So believe it or not, we were the first company that adopted the Philips Rebel Lumilec, what they had at the time was state of the art. And the big guys like Surefire and Streamlight said, oh, it's not ready, it's not ready. So we had the first line of 100% LED tactical flashlights. And we really just wanted to make the best stuff we could. Everything we make is stuff that I pretty much really design it for myself. So like if you see survival stuff at the stores, it's got like Bear Grylls or somebody, and I'm sure those guys are good at what they do, but that stuff is not actually what they would use. Everything that we have in our line is the very best quality that we can possibly make. It's just stuff that if I think there's a need for it, so I design it from the idea to the product, best quality, and then we don't get flashy with stuff. Like we had the first tactical end cap, we call it tactical touch, where you could switch without having to twist knobs and do things, and we could go right into strobe mode because I felt that was just an officer safety thing to keep people off balance, dark, all the troubles at night. So it kept people off, and we were the first guys to do strobe. We were the first guys to have a lot of these things. But of course, what happens is after eventually, people from China come in, and it's pretty tough to keep up with it. We try to defend our intellectual property as much as we can, but it's not easy. We get actually some royalties from some of the guys that knock us off. So, but that was my background. And again, we transition. It doesn't matter what the product is. We try to focus on stuff that's very different, unique, that other things that people don't have. And the tactical flashlight business, I still think we make the best in the business where you either have to be, as a business model, do you want to be Rolex or Timex? And they're both good business models. We just chose to be Rolex, and it's just high quality, nothing gimmicky, nothing gadgety. And it's designed for people that really need this stuff. And at the time, we got a registered trademark designed by police officers for police officers. And it's not a marketing slogan. It was something we really put a lot of thought, time, and energy into. And again, everything from there we went on. And for us, because we had so many opportunities, the tactical flashlight business is still a part of our business. But we came up with other things that nobody else came up with. And I learned early on the best thing to do is get your patents, get your trademarks, and then keep your supply chain a secret. So as we started to develop our other products, which are our APALS, or the all-purpose adhesive light strips, I've never seen them. This is what one looks like. And they have 3 modes on, flash, slow flash, fast flash. But this is something that replaced chemical light sticks with our APALS, all-purpose adhesive light strips. In chemical light sticks we used for years, but they had a lot of limitations, short run times. They were always broken when you needed them. So because of this is waterproof. We've had these down to 600 feet, deep sea fishing. It's a 3M adhesive that you can peel and stick, and they'll hold fast, again, for fishing things. And we manufacture these all black and infrared for the military. We make them in multiple colors, but that's something that nobody else has. We've kept the supply chain tight. It's sort of like Coca-Cola or Kentucky Fried Chicken. We just don't let anybody.
A special recipe.
Well, yeah, but we keep the supply chain tight, and these are high. Again, having the connections in Malaysia and Singapore and Japan, we were able to get some components that aren't readily available in China. So the Chinese have had trouble. They're always trying to knock us off, but they never quite get it right.
That's great. That's a fantastic story about the company, you starting it, your police background, just everything about the products that you guys make. So thank you for going through all of that. Now, if you're watching this video, there is a QR code down below. Scan that with your phone. It'll take you to multiple websites, Brite-Strike's products on Grainger.com, their YouTube channel, other social media sites, their website, just lots of useful information there. So scan that code. That way you can learn more about Brite-Strike. Now, Glenn, getting into the types of customers that would be interested in your products, please let's dig into that a little bit.
Sure. And again, I'll try to keep this focused on how this relates to Grainger, but we do a very good business with the military on infrared products, but also in non-infrared. All the federal law enforcement agencies regularly buy stuff from us. We sell to the Coast Guard, all the branches of the FBI. Started out with, we do business with all the special forces guys. We do business with law enforcement from federal level and state level and local level. And then we move over into the fishing industry, so like commercial fishing. And that, surprising, Grainger may have some overlap there because these things are replacing chemical light sticks. So when you think of, and again, that was a company, also Massachusetts-based company, and it was an older technology from the 50s that really needed to be replaced, and the Chinese hordes kind of took that over. But we think we have something that is will do that. So this would be, now it's expanded to commercial fishing, then to recreational fishing. But we've, in Grainger, say, for example, you might go into a grocery store or any kind of a retail store where they have wet floors they're washing, and you'll see those little yellow stand-up things that Grainger sells, and it says wet floor caution, and they'll put these on because they can be turned off and on and reused. They run for 200-300 hours. So that's an unthought. And then we sell, when you see caution tape, like the police use it at night, the yellow police tape, do not cross, you can stick different colors APALS on. And again, even if it's an industrial or construction site, they'll take APALS and stick those on that tape. They're so light and thin that it doesn't, you don't have to try to tie it on with duct tape and things like that. So there's a lot of applications there. And it's, again, we have wildlife photographers that use these for background lighting out and then we use them, guys that are hunting for hogs at night and stuff like that use them. But again, there's almost nothing they can't be used for because the tagline is light wherever you need it.
Yeah, and I have a few APALs actually in my backpack that go with me everywhere I go. So they are super light, and 200 to 300 battery life hours to them. Really great products there. And like Glenn said, there's many different customers, but strictly with Grainger, it'll be government, military, police, law enforcement, search and rescue, first responders, things like that, but also the fishing industry too. That might be an area that's good for Grainger too.
We've had power companies, when there's power outages, when there's absolutely no power, they'll actually put these, and I know Grainger does a lot of business with the power companies throughout the country. They'll stick these on down power lines or areas that they want to prioritize, or if it's safe, they put a green for go, just like a traffic light. And then if it's not safe, they put red. So then the other first responders know, don't cross that wire, that kind of thing. So it's just a wide application throughout the emergency preparedness spectrum.
That's good to note that just another application. Now, coming down to the CBIs or customer business issues, what types of customer business issues can your products help solve?
Well, again, it's sort of it provides lighting in areas where it would be difficult to you couldn't necessarily tape a flashlight or something. So if it's small and lightweight, you could, again, put these on those areas that tell you there's a wet floor. You can put them on any type of thin surface. One example would be in warehouses or in construction sites. If it's low light or light, they'll have different colors on. So that like if you're in an Amazon warehouse, even though you have backup generators, you could have somebody that's, if they're running heavy equipment or like, forklifts, they could have that on. So it's backup emergency lighting, and you'd be quite surprised in the dark, one white or green APALS, which are the two brightest colors, one single APALS will actually light a 10 by 20 room quite well to see most things. So it's a backup to your backup generator.
That's great. So emergency preparedness is definitely one, which is why we have you on this particular episode this month. Now, regarding cost savings, I think that's another good CBI that you fit into. Now, you mentioned that specifically your APALs, they're a replacement to chem lights. About how many chem lights would you have to use to go through about 200 hours of the APAL's battery life?
Of course, it depends on, there were a lot of variations, but they had some high intensity ones that were good for 15 or 20 minutes. Typically, a chem light in green, which is their strongest running color, would be about an hour. And for the Mil-Spec chem light sticks, they were about $250 before the company went out of business. They $2 to $3 a piece. So you would actually need to have 200 to 300, maybe let's call it 250 chemical light sticks to provide the lighting. But this, once again, you can turn it off. So this would, because the flashing could be used if you had to light a runway, for example, out in the middle of nowhere. Put some of these. Yeah. This particular stuff, if you can see it, it's a waxy paper that covers the adhesive. You can actually restick that and restick this. You get about 100 resticks depending on the surface. So, again, it's probably, if you even compare it to like the cheap, junky kid stuff coming in for Halloween that's selling for $1 a piece, you're going to get 300 hours out of these, and they're going to be still brighter. And big thing is you can turn it back off. Like an example would be a kid's backpack or something, right? Stick it on, take it off, move it around to other things. For medical emergencies, you're able to provide, because you can fit 2 or 3 of these in a small, I have 2 or 3 of the very small type packs that I keep with me all the time. You're not always carrying your EMT type bags around, but so the savings is probably, again, you'd be spending on one APALS is going to cost you about $6 at Grainger versus, let's say, $600 worth of chemical light sticks.
Yeah, so some major cost savings that you can bring to your customers, and the fact that you can turn it on and off, that's how you're able to conserve the battery. And maybe you don't need it for 15 minutes or an hour like a chem light would work for. Basically, you have a chem light that's working and you don't need it to. So that's great, CBI that you can help customers out with, as well as keep stock. So these are a consumable product, as well as their very popular rechargeable battery that they have in Grainger, which we'll get into here in a moment. But keep stock would be another good CBI for Brite-Strike. Now, we've already kind of talked at length about products, but let's talk a little bit more about some of the products that you have. Let's start with APALS, and actually, I have a quick little video that just goes to show just how strong these products are. So I'm gonna pop that up here right now, and of course, the video is freezing. There we go. So that is an APAL getting hit by a hammer repeatedly, and you can see that the light is still working. So that just goes to show the ruggedness and durability of these products. Not only can you turn them on and off, do they have the strobe feature? You said that they're submersible too. So tons of features to these APALs. Do you have kits that include these APALs at all?
Yeah, we sell in a variety of these. The standard is a 10-pack. And one of the things I didn't mention when we were talking about cost savings is I didn't even factor in, when you look at chemical light sticks, there's a high breakage fee. a lot of those get cracked. You've had them, right? You go to use it and it's not there. So that's a big problem if you're in EMS or police or tactical or anything like that, pilots. So one of the things we have is, this is something we got a patent on, and this is a foam pack that it's inserts that hold the APALS individually. And it has two components. One, it's almost, I won't say impossible, but close to impossible to accidentally activate one of these. So we don't get any defect of product, or there's no breakage, there's no damage. These get dropped out of helicopters for the military. You know, when there's emergency outages around the world, these can get dropped off. So all of these can come, and it doesn't matter, because if you want a 5-pack, you can cut this in half. You can do a 2-pack. We do a lot of varieties like that. We tend to sell the 10-pack, like comes like this, and that just tends to be a pretty good. So it's like a 60, depending with $60 or $70 retail, depending on the IR, costs a little more, infrared, that kind of thing. But there's no breakage, and they can be dropped, or you know, this could be put in a vending machine, and you don't have to worry. And they're also impervious. We put date codes on them that they're good for about 5 years from storage, and they're good 3 years or 100%, and then after that they start to lose a little bit every year. But we've got some APALS still running from 15 years. It's just, you know, they're not really bright at that point, but we'll turn them off and on once in a while to see how they're doing.
That's great. So APALS, great product, different colors available, different styles available. Just reach out to myself or Glenn. I'll pop in our contact info here later when we wrap up, but reach out to us for more information. Now, I also mentioned that you guys have a rechargeable battery that is very, very popular with Grainger. I'm going to pop up a picture of it. Why don't we talk a little bit about this this battery of yours? What makes it special and unique?
Yeah, and again, let me just explain to you what makes the reason why APALS is so unique is it has some advanced circuitry that we developed. So we have 5 patents related to this, and if you look at the patent office, it's the ruggedization of a compact circuit. So that really summarizes what we do. We've been able to figure out how to make a circuit bulletproof, okay? And one of the videos I sent you, it didn't come up for the show, but this is encased in a PVC pouch that's provided. We buy these from 3M. Very rugged, but the circuit itself, you can actually remove the raw circuit from the PVC encasure pouch and stick it in water, and it will run for several hours, raw circuit. And that's very, very unique. I just have never seen anything quite like it. So my point is, we took some of that, the way we ruggedize a circuit, and we transposed it to this commercial battery for our rechargeable flashlight. And in addition to being highly ruggedized, it has a separate layer, a more advanced circuitry. So we are able to produce brighter, more consistent light out of a tactical flashlight and longer run times. But most importantly, ours have a protective cap. There's like a double layer, so you don't have any issues with lithium batteries, because we use a gel lithium, but this circuitry we put in there is really, really unique. And I've had people that know a lot about this look at this and go, wow, this is great. And if you look at some, I've opened up some, and these are big companies in the tactical flashlight business, American manufacturers that are using some of the ones, and their battery suppliers have chased us. They couldn't pass round 1 of our testing. I mean, we as much as I would have liked to have some cost savings, but we couldn't. It couldn't pass our safety tests. And not only did we not get, none of the other stuff worked as good. So all I can say is the proof is in the batteries. So if you're really serious about this, even though ours have a little bit higher cost, try a side-by-side comparison, okay, in the product. And again, ours were designed to work specifically for tactical flashlights, and they'll work in anybody's. But if you try them side by side, you're going to get more performance, better runtime. And if you really want to give it a test, try removing the cap. Wear safety gloves and glasses. And ours, you can remove the top of the cap and it's fine. All the others we tested, as we went to remove the cap, they basically blew up in our faces. So we
Oh,
couldn't even
wow.
get past the first phase of testing.
Wow, and like I said, this is a top seller with Granger for us. This is a 18650 battery size battery, so rechargeable, and we also have a charger for it too that's sold separately. That's available through Granger as well. Um,
And if they're in the flashlights, you get the charger and the battery. Granger sells it separately, but I think at some point, if they were to put our flashlights in again, you get the whole package.
Now, if you were to take your battery and put it into somebody else's flashlight that has a recharging port on it, would the battery be able to recharge through the flashlight's recharging capability?
I can't say, I hate to make a general statement because I can't, specifically. I know our battery gets used in a lot of the American manufacturers and some of the Chinese manufacturer flashlights. I don't know if their charger is going to work or not. It's a little different. Like you'll see, I don't have one here, but you'll see a lot of these batteries that are blue. It's just a blue color, and you'll see it's different. It has a flat head. It's flat on the top, and it doesn't have that it has two holes for ventilation in it. So those chargers may or may not work. It's, again, with anything like this involving safety. And it's one of the things that if you go to eBay or Amazon or a lot of these places, you don't know what you're getting. We're counterfeited just like all the other companies. But when you buy this from Granger, you know that is coming from Brite-Strike, and you're getting a safe product. And the run times and all that's great, but safety is so critical with these lithium batteries that it gives us a comfort level, Rowe-Thrush a comfort level, and everybody that's a Granger customer should just go to bed and sleep at night. You're not going to have a problem with your lithium batteries.
Great. Now, one other product that you wanted to talk about is your Brite Rescue, which this fits perfectly with emergency preparedness. Why don't you talk to us about this item?
Sure. This is something like, think of a small roll of toilet paper. It's rolled up small. It's about the size of an energy bar, and it comes in a holster that you can put in any pack. And it's designed to unfurl as needed on land, sea, or air. So you could take this and lay this out, anything from boating, to backcountry pilots. We sell a lot of these to pilots and very specialized things, but they have APALS on them. And this particular version has a total of 6. We've custom make these if somebody wants different colors, but we have found initially they were all international amber with a reflective front. And this is what the two look. This is the camera. That's a reflective front. So what we did was we put a combination of rescue green or safety green and the amber reflective front. And it's a very thin, small thing, and just roll it out, and it rolls right out, hooks on the back of a lifeboat, hooks on the back of a tree, anything you want. And that provides you, each of the APALS gives you 200 to 300 hours of runtime. So you've got weeks and weeks of illumination, and you have the flash mode steady. So if you just need a little bit of light, you can use it to light the area. But we've also put 3M radar reflective strips on here. And also we put it's the luminescent tape. So what happens is that luminescent tape, there's 2 strips of that, and that actually there's 3 strips. And that charges up during the day. And then at night you push an APAL on it, and the APALS actually keeps that charging. So if you've ever gone fishing with lures that you charge that, the green luminescent glow in the dark stuff, and it's some pretty cool stuff that we actually worked with the Asylum guys on this. But what'll happen is now you have glow in the dark. So even if you get to the point where it's kind of like belt suspenders and belt, it's just like triple redundancies. And that's a theme that goes throughout. If you look at anything that's pilots, backcountry woodsmen, and off-grid guys, 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is right. So we try to have backup redundancies built in. This is a great little product, and It's, again, any type of application, and it could even, there's commercial application. If something went wrong, let's say you had a gas leak or something, or any type of thing, we could make these and put different colors on for different, but the power companies where it could be flashing red. You don't want them to cross. But the polyethylene is a very tough material, very, very tough. I mean, this is not cheap stuff. And what happens is the APALS, if you're in the air or you're on water, it floats on water. And the APALS, as they're spread on both sides, act as stabilizers, so it doesn't flip over. So it stays on the surface, it doesn't flip over, and the reflective and the lighting is really just, again, the applications for off-grid people are great, but there's also industrial and commercial use for it as well.
Excellent. Now, for time purposes, I know we want to go into flashlights and the Roto-Lock as well. So let's try and keep it a little bit brief. But you know, let's talk about the Roto-Lock. What makes that special, and what is it, and why would a police officer want this product?
This was the Roto-Lock, and this was something was designed specifically. I'm taking the flashlight out because, so what this does is this will fit on your duty belt. It's adjustable, fits on any of the current duty belts or off-duty belts even. And then what it's designed to do is rotate, so your flashlight goes down in the bottom. And then what you would do now is, because a lot of times when you were like doing searches in the woods, particularly with the canine guys, you could have hands-free lighting. And a headlamp is great. I'm not, you should always have a headlamp, but this, so the headlamp will go where your head goes, but this stays on your body. It will mount on MOLLE gear or a backpack, but it was designed to fit on both MOLLE and duty belts and rotate 360 degrees. And what it does is it's locked in. So if you look, probably can't see it closely, but this is aluminum. These levers release the cam. They can lock in place, then you can release it. And these are actually, I don't want to use the word Teflon because it's not Teflon, but these are aluminum rollers, cam rollers, and they actually grab the light. It's two flat sides, like most lights have, and it locks it in place. You can just pull it out quickly. Been very popular with police officers. Literally around the world, we sell these. And there's been some cheap knockoffs that just use plastic, but again, this is aluminum. It can be adjustable. You can adjust the tension. You can adjust side that you wear it this way all the time. You don't want it to rotate. You can tighten it down, put a little bit of blue Loctite on there and lock it in position. Gives you a lot of flexibility. But again, the Cam Lock Roto-Lock it's really a great product, and it's something that I think Grainger could be selling more of, because we sell these now through a number of distributors in the police world, and it's a unique product.
And we do have a SKU for the Brite Rescue as well as a Roto-Lock down in the ticker that's scrolling across the bottom. So please take note of that and write down those SKUs as they come by. Now, regarding flashlights, we used to have flashlights in Grainger, but there was a line review a number of years ago and they were removed. However, you can still have your customers purchase their flashlights through Grainger sourcing. And Glenn, you mentioned the tactical touch feature of it already, but what else about your flashlights make them differentiated from other manufacturers?
We're Mil-Spec on our lowest cost light is what's called our BTL. It's a good light. It has Mil-Spec anodizing. We use 661 aluminum. When there was a switch from the LEDs, when people went from one brand to another, Lexion Rebel went out and everybody was using Cree at different levels of Cree. Cree doesn't, you were able to buy the Rebel bin selected, meaning you could go through and make sure you're getting the correct color. On the Kelvin scale, we're always around 64K, which is what you're looking for, slightly brighter white than daylight. But you don't want it, you'll see sometimes with LEDs, they get blue. You see cheap LEDs, they get a bluish color, or they get too yellowy. So what we do is we actually have a lab in Malaysia, bin select, So we pay additional money to them go through and make sure we're getting the best LEDs. Unfortunately, the ones that don't make it, they just get sold off or thrown out or something, but there's some extra cost to it. But again, we want to be Rolex, not Timex.
I like that analogy, and I'll definitely be using that when I talk to Grainger account managers about your flashlights in the future. I love it.
And many of the features, but we reversed the clip and did some other things. And if you look at a lot of the designs out there, even though we have patents, we pretty much got copied by everybody else. And you can't chase them all down, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the environment that we're in these days. So thank you for going through the flashlights that you guys have. They have a variety of different options available, different sizes as well. So again, feel free to reach out to myself or Glenn. I'll pop up our contact info here in a few moments, but reach out to us if you want to learn more information. Now you have a new product. This is not in Grainger currently that you want to talk about, called Bug-Strike. So why don't you talk about that a little bit? And here in a moment, I'll play this video that we have as well.
And again, it goes back to our APALS platform, which has a wide use. So we worked on this for about 10 years to get it right through product testing in the field, and I did most of it. We were able to figure out through a lot of research, and we're able to repel mosquitoes and gnats and black flies by using a combination of infrared light and UV light and blue light. So we found the infrared light worked. We did some stuff for the military with just the infrared light in a very specific wavelength. It's pretty effective. The problem is, unless you have night vision goggles like the special forces teams all have it, but so we had to come up with one that still worked, but it was in a level that it emits a tiny bit of red light. And the other blue light, if there's a lot of research on this. In fact, most of it was started by the Gates Foundation with infrared light to repel mosquitoes. So I found it fascinating and did a deep dive and studied it for several years and talked with everybody I could, and then started working on it. And the blue light repels and repels some insects. And they don't really know why. It's interesting because they don't know why, but for some reason, mosquitoes and some of the other, they're afraid of infrared light, and UV light generally attracts bugs. So what we found was when you put the UV next to the IR, it somehow caught the mosquito's attention. And these only work, they're only going to give you about a foot to 18 inches away from your face and head if you put them on the visor of a hat. And you can put a head down on it. But on my old fly, when I was fly fishing, you can cover head to toe, but how do you keep that area? So it's important if you're a guy that's a backwoods guy, but we have guides in Florida, professional fishing guides in the Keys that purchase these because we just got the patent 2 days ago. So until the patent issued, we were just they were available, but very limited. We were just but we've had semi-pro baseball players, outfielders, put them on their hat at night. Professional guides that are in the backwoods. But again, it's a very specific thing. But if you can cover everything else up, but you need to have your face clear, we've got guys that do skeet shooting and stuff at night using them, and of course police snipers and got things like that. But we're very proud of it because it was a 10-year effort and a lot of years and a lot of money to get the patent issue. So we just kind of announcing it publicly today that the patent is issued.
That's great. So I'm going to pop up the video here now, and we'll watch this really quick.
The idea for the Brite-Strike Bug-Strike light-based insect repelling system came from a study that was funded by the Gates Foundation using high-powered infrared light to repel mosquitoes by creating a barrier for a large area. I thought, what if we could use our patented microcircuit design to create a low-powered version of this, a dome around a person's head, to repel pesky mosquitoes and other insects. I experimented and field tested with infrared light in near visible and invisible wavelengths and a variety of different coatings. Through trial and error, I was able to get the infrared dialed in right to repel mosquitoes, and then added some other types of UV light in the near UV and invisible UV and blue. And finally got the combination to repel many of the pesky insects such as deer flies and horsefly. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm getting crushed here, just crushed. Mosquitoes and brown flies. Well, same exact time, I just put the hat on with all three blinking. Gone. Nothing, no mosquitoes, no brown deer flies, terrible. The product includes a complete set of 3 plus an additional infrared, and the Brite-Strike system will last 200 hours, can be switched off as needed, and it will give most users several months or most of the summer without the need to use harsh chemicals to repel mosquitoes, simply using natural light. Installation is easy by simply peeling and sticking the 3M backed adhesive, or for more permanent installation, you can use the included hook and loop kit.
All right. So while those products they might not be such a great fit for most Granger customers. Anybody that's an outdoorsman or outdoors woman, this might be something of interest for you. It's a great new product available through Brite-Strike. You could get it through Granger Sourcing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Glenn. With that, we're done. Do you have any final words? Anything that you want to say out to the Granger sales force?
Yeah, we just we love Granger. Again, we really like to have Granger as a partner because you can be assured your customer is getting the real deal, not some counterfeit stuff that you might get on eBay or Amazon or something. So thank you, Granger. Thank you, James, and everybody else at Rowe-Thrush for having us today. We appreciate it very much.
Great. So anybody watching, our next solution selling show won't be next week on the 15th, but it'll be on the 22nd, and we'll be bringing Calpipe security bollards back onto our show, where this will be a part 2 to last week's episode, where we'll be getting into their products that are available through Granger Sourcing specifically. So all of their architectural type bollards. And we'll also be talking about their razor wire as well, which again is available through Granger Sourcing. So if you're watching this now or sometime in the near future, please check out that show on the 22nd. Again, we do these shows every Friday at 2 o'clock Central Time. So with that, Glenn, thank you so much for taking some time out of your Friday afternoon to join us on this. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for having us. You have a great weekend too.
Awesome. So everybody, here's our contact information. You have both Glenn's as well as mine. Please reach out to us with any questions that you have regarding Brite-Strike, and looking forward to working with you guys in the future regarding APALS, flashlights, what have you, all of these great products that we talked about today. Have a great weekend, everybody.